Growing up, my family would go on road trips every Christmas holiday from Lagos to our hometown in Adamawa State, Nigeria. Inspired by this experience are 25 staple recipes and heartfelt stories just for you. This is Sally's 25 Days of Christmas. In this video, we are going to be making vanilla sponge cake, inspired by my trips to the north. So here are our ingredients. We'll be using all-purpose flour, corn flour, vegetable oil, vanilla extract, milk, eggs, and sugar. The full list of the ingredients will be in the description box below. First, we are going to separate our egg yolks from our egg whites. So this is a method I use. You can use whatever method you know how best to use. What you're going to do is separate your yolks from your whites and put them in two different bowls. I advise that you use a bowl where you can easily mix or whip your egg whites with a hand mixer. Do not use a deep bowl like this. I used a stand mixer in this video because I was really not having it. I was so lazy to start using a hand mixer, but I highly advise that you use a hand mixer. It's much more efficient for this small quantity of recipe, and it makes sure that the entirety of the egg whites are properly whipped compared to the stand mixer. You know, the stand mixer needs plenty quantity to whip efficiently, but your hand mixer does the job no matter the quantity that you are doing. So please use a hand mixer, okay? So now that we've separated our yolks from our whites, I'm going to add in my vanilla extract into my yolks. I'm going to add in my evaporated milk. You can use powdered milk and dilute it as well. I'm going to add in my vegetable oil. Basically, you're mixing in all your wet ingredients with your egg yolk, okay, or rather your egg yolks. And so we're going to whisk this together till it combines properly. So you're using 3 whole eggs, separating the 3 yolks from the 3 whites, right? You're using the 3 egg yolks for this method. In this video, I had mistaken this recipe for my other sponge recipe that I use for my Swiss roll, and I had separated 1 yolk from this, which I'm going to be adding in much later, so you would understand when you see that in the video. Next, we are going to add in half of our sugar, not all of it, half of it. The remaining half is going to be added in while we are whipping our egg whites. So now we're just going to mix in the sugar with our egg yolk mixture till it's well combined, and then we'll set this aside and move to the next step. Now we are going to whip our egg whites. When you're using your hand mixer, you're going to be going in circular motion until your egg whites become fluffy and white and beautiful. You're going to find this hard to believe, but the first time I actually had vanilla sponge cake was in my village. Every Christmas holiday in the village, my aunties would go to a bakery called Oasis Bakery. They would go and get us vanilla sponge cakes. Like, they were always layered this way, just 1 7-inch flat layer, and we would always have the sponge cakes, 1 sponge cake to a person. So each person had a 7-inch single layer vanilla sponge cake to themselves. Then we would always eat it as though we're eating bread. We would just be eating the cake. Like, it was one of my core memories traveling to the north. Then we always had vanilla sponge cakes, and so that is actually what inspired me sharing this recipe. This is my own take on the flat layered vanilla sponge cake that we used to have then in my village. Okay, so while your egg whites are whipping, you want to wait until it has soft peaks like this, and then you add in your sugar. Right, add in your sugar and then whip. You don't just pour in the sugar at once, you pour it bit by bit until you exhaust all of your sugar, right? At this point, you can see that it's still having loose peaks. The egg whites have not yet formed stiff peaks, so you're going to keep on whipping until your egg whites form stiff peaks. That is, it can hold its shape without necessarily drizzling down as it was doing earlier. So here I have put it back to whip for some extra minutes until I notice that it has formed stiff peaks, and then we can move to our next step. So this is what you are looking for. You want it to hold its shape like so. So here we are going to combine both ingredients. This recipe does not have any raising agents because the eggs serve as the raising agents. Okay, so you're going to take little bits of your whipped egg whites and mix it in with your egg yolks. This is going to help us combine the batter together much more easily. So you're just going to mix our egg yolk mixture completely and thoroughly with a little bit of the egg whites, and then once that is well combined, we are going to transfer this into our egg white bowl. Make sure you scrape your bowl. I highly recommend that you use a silicone spatula for this. Scrape your bowl properly, make sure everything goes in there, and then just mix it all together. However, you want to be careful not to over mix. The crucial thing about sponge cakes is that your egg whites need to be properly whipped. That's why I advise you use a hand mixer, because the hand mixer makes sure that every bit, every corner, every single thing in that bowl is whipped, right? And you do not have any form of egg white residue that is not whipped. If your egg whites are not properly whipped, your sponge cake will not fluff up properly, and it would just deflate. It would not hold up properly. So this is what we are looking for. Then we are going in with our flour. However, to our all-purpose flour, we are removing 2 tablespoons from the actual measurement. So remove 2 tablespoons and then replace those 2 tablespoons with corn flour. That way we've made ourselves cake flour. If you have cake flour, you can skip this part and just use the measurement of the all-purpose flour for your cake flour. But if you do not have cake flour, then you have to do this, okay? So you take out 2 tablespoons and replace those 2 tablespoons with corn flour. So now we're going to sift in our flour. This is the last thing we are adding into our cake batter. We're just going to sift this in. Of course, we always sift our flour to remove shafts, and so once that is done, we are now going to mix. Please be careful not to over mix your batter. Remember that this is whipped eggs. You don't want to over mix them such that it deflates. We need those whipped eggs to function as our raising agents in baking our sponge cakes, okay? So scrape the sides of your bowl. The moment you notice that all of the flour is well incorporated in the batter, you stop mixing. Your batter does not have to be smooth. If you notice that there are a few lumps, it is totally okay. You're not trying to get a smooth batter, okay? So at this point, the batter is ready, and so I am going to transfer this into my baking pan. For this video, I used a size 7 baking pan, because like I said, I was trying to get exactly how the sponge cake in my village would be a flat layer of cake, okay? If you want your sponge cake to be taller, you can use a size 6 or size 5 cake pan for this recipe, but I highly recommend a size 6 if you want to get a tall sponge cake for this recipe. This exact measurement will do justice to a size 6 pan. So for me, I used a size 7 pan because, like I said, I was trying to get a thin layer. Always make sure you put your parchment paper inside the pan, and then you're going to transfer your batter and hit or slam your batter like this. I don't know if it's called patting or hitting or slamming. That good stuff. What you're doing is you're trying to release the trapped air bubbles in the cake. Another thing I like to do is I like to use my wooden skewer to just go around it like this. It helps spread the batter evenly. So what I'm doing is basically swirling the inside of my pan, making sure that my cake batter is evenly distributed, and also that there are no trapped air bubbles in my cake batter. At this point, my oven was already preheating. You're going to bake this low and slow. You're going to bake this for about 20 to 25 minutes till you are satisfied with the browning of the cake. Personally, I like my cake this brown. You know that your cake is ready when you take it out and you tap the center and it bounces back. It's not jiggly, it's not raw. That's when you know. Your cake does not have to be this brown. You know, it can be lighter in color, but make sure your cake is properly cooked. So you're just going to turn it upside down on your cooling rack and allow it to cool completely. The reason why we do this is because if we leave it facing up, the cake can actually collapse because of, you know, it's whipped eggs. So to help withhold that structure and all that good stuff, it's recommended that you flip it over. And this is our sponge cake. It's ready and it's delicious and it's perfect. This was exactly how we would have our sponge cakes then in my village, and each person would just literally take bites into it and just, you know, tear it into pieces and eat it anyhow they liked, because we didn't need knives for that. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I hope you try this recipe. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, share this video to your loved ones, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Have a beautiful Christmas.